Aw, look at this guy. He explained red pill to his wife without explaining red pill to his wife. Welcome. Mids watch. Ryan. Mid's night shift. Hopefully, we got some new jazzy lo-fi beats for you guys on these ones here to keep it going. I know a couple guys have complained that they don't like it. It's distracting, but you know what? You'll be fine. This guy, it's one of the typical red-pilled ones in here. It's been a while since I've showed ones where guys just left. They just come in, they drop their question, and then they leave, and you never see them again. So it's good as an example, but it's bad in that guys just value leech, I guess is the best way to put it. So we'll take from what we can. So he had some posts in here. He was looking for answers. He had a short exchange, short by Jack standards, Jack 10 of hearts. I identified what my situation truly was. I'm 34, she's 35. We've been married for 15 years, 2 daughters. We own a house in a small city. We make GAI. I don't know what that means. We're in the 79th percentile. In other words, he's got money. 2 cars and a motorcycle. He's got hobbies. He lifts. He's racing, woodworking, blah, blah, blah. We have sex 3 times a week on average. I've never been fully blue-pilled. If the red-pilled world has been hidden from the blue pill by a curtain, I saw the world through a sheer and tattered curtain, seeing snippets of how things were and how they worked without realizing it, doing red pill things without knowing what I was doing. I always love this, by the way, where guys talk about, like, this hidden knowledge. I actually kind of knew it. It's not hidden knowledge. Like, none of this should come as a full surprise to you. I'd say 50 to 80% of the stuff that you see red pill guys doing and talking about should resonate with your life if you've had any amount of a sexual or social life whatsoever. And that's why it works, because it takes all those things you already knew and it articulates them in a way you hadn't considered. And then when you see that next 20% of stuff, you're like, hey, that actually might have solved a problem I had, or this could solve a problem I'm having now. And that's the point of it. And that's probably a key skill for you guys. Like, most of this stuff should jive. And if you're not seeing stuff that jives, either you need to get more experience or you need to start listening to other people. Otherwise, you're just wasting everybody's time. And so he's like saying with all this stuff in the interest of that, because if his hobbies kept him out late, she would question him about them. He used to go to a jiu-jitsu gym regularly. She'd complain when he'd be home at 9:30. Class started at 7:30, the second at 6:30, the second at 7:30. He'd roll with students until 9:30. He did it twice a week. Most of the time he was home before 9, and he's like, if he was getting complaints, it was more about how he spent all of his time there. So pre-divorce announcement, see below. Quit the gym, began to organize his money and his finances. She then noticed me doing very red pill things, and he was still not red pilled proper yet. He was regularly agreeing and amplify, passing shit tests, disregarding arguments, keeping stoic. He did it flawlessly because he wasn't thinking about doing it. He began doing his own thing, but still had family time. He was distant, although mostly because of the intolerable dead bedroom. Love how they slip those leads in there, right? And made little attempt to interact with her. Like, why bother? It's a dead bedroom when I do. It's a dead bedroom when I don't. So what's the point? Stay plan, same as the go plan kind of stuff. She began complaining about how he never went to the gym anymore. And he was happier when he went. He's like, I can't afford it right now. We already have separate finances. And she replied, are you trying to save money to plan your escape? Yeah, chick's savvy. He gives her that. It's not hard to make that connection. She clearly recognized that the dead bedroom was a shitball rolling downhill pretty fast. He thought about it back in September. I don't know what month this is now. Came as a result for, like, basically no sex. Like, what's the point? His response to the behavior came in the form of depressive-like behavior, anger, and a few beta tendencies. After reading through the stuff in here, it's actually not as bad as it could have been. So after they had, like, a fight over this, there was good, amazing sex for 2 weeks. And all of a sudden, her self-described broken orgasm was suddenly fixed. She then fell off, to every 4 days and every 7 days like clockwork. I feared the dead bedroom was around the corner and Starfish was making an appearance again. So it set in motion a series of events where he made his expectations of clear, regular, interesting sex a requirement. A bit later, we argued again. This time it was about her disinterest in sex altogether. She had a low libido, it seems, and just seemed to set the bar slightly higher than Starfish. So victim puke abound for me. He complained about all his problems to her. And then, where is it? He just gave up, stopped trying. Whatever. I found myself in an impasse. Regular red pill didn't seem to be working because she wasn't doing shit tests anymore, and it's pretty easygoing as wives go. I have my space, she has hers, we meet in the middle. Arguments were a direct result of a sticking point, which is sex. He applied a red pill methodology to the arguments. They didn't work because ignoring, exiting, agreeing to amplify, nothing else got to the root of anything. So Jack then related a description of what he saw based on what I posted and hit the nail on the head with a 99% spot-on description of his life. Ultimately, his marriage was pretty good, but the sex lags because his wife doesn't like herself. She also isn't interested in sex as much as he is because her attitudes with it are 100% tied to her emotional attachment to me. So ultimately, he's like, I gotta help her feel good about her. Now, I gotta preface this too. I have a strong disagreement with this post, but it is what it is. And we'll get to that part after. So we found an opening on Friday. She asked him how to get faster doing her 5K races. You can race at 5K? Fair enough. And the next one's in 8 weeks. So it's a perfect time for him to put together a running and strength plan involved her swimming and cycling for triathlons. Additionally, he made sure she had some weight training as well. At first she was resistant, then decided to ask in a way that would result in like a positive outcome for her. Later that night, he was falling asleep. She's like, what are you doing? He's like, falling asleep. What are you doing? And it was sort of expected, sort of unexpected. This night, sex would have happened had the rhythm kept up. She expected me to initiate, but I didn't. I actually thought she was asleep at first, but she shifted too regularly for sleep as I was lying down. And in the case, he's like, all right, I'm fucking not into it. He rejected himself here. And he got slightly the better Starfish sex. And then the argument starts. I don't know what you want from me. He's like, nothing. I don't want anything from you. You weren't turning me on, so we can have sex another time. Pleasant conversation. Certainly isn't going to do anything at this point. So he's like, nothing. Nothing's wrong. Look. And he's just gived up. You know what I mean? So here's the thing. I've talked before about what you do when you're dealing with Starfish sex. There's usually the two approaches. There's caveman. Go in, get yours, and get out as fast as possible. Don't even care if she enjoys herself. Sometimes that kickstarts things. The other time is just to get up and like, yeah, this isn't working for me, and just go do your own thing. He attempted to do the latter. It didn't have an effect, which it's not generally there to have an effect. It's just there to establish that you aren't willing to settle for a poor quality of sex life. It's good enough. But he keeps having these covert contracts thinking that if he does this new tip, this new trick, it'll make something better. This might make it better. Well, maybe this will make it better. Well, maybe this will make it better. And I wish I could go over the rest of it, but he has like 5 more pages of this rambling nonsense. He essentially does, this is like actually a good example for you, but a bad field report. It's where the guy just takes his life and dumps the whole thing at your lap. He's like, did I do it right, guys? To which the answer is like, what do you even want? Like, he never mentions in here what he wants. Obviously, he wants a better sex life, but, you know, he wants a better sex life from her. He basically made his goal, I want my wife to want to fuck me more, which you cannot tell people to fuck you more. You can't make people do anything. They're going to do what they want to do. If you want to watch, there's an episode a couple episodes back about be more fuckable. Don't try to have your wife fuck you. And this is exactly what his stuff is geared towards. Unfortunately, this was like about 7 months prior to that. So it's always neat to see how these small failure field reports can eventually bloom into something that's fairly useful from a red pill standpoint. So there, now you're seeing how the sausage is made. 6-pack abs, 6 feet tall, and 6 figures income, or they will never get a date. So they start talking about Rollo posts. So we'll get in here. Jack talks about, the rational male will always be an endeavor in descriptiveness, not prescription, which I think anybody ought to be doing. He's like, yeah, at the end of the day, we're married to our wives, not the feminist imperative. I see a prescriptive red pill, lift, dread, agree, and amplify as a shovel to dig yourself out of a huge pile of shit you're in. But once you're out of that pile of shit, well, then what? Well, you're probably going to want to replace this with your own life and your own creation, right? So you'll probably still find the red pill shovel useful, but you're going to need some other tools. And it's naive to think that we all need the same tools and that we'll all want to build the same structures. And he kind of goes into it before where in one of their goofy arguments, it's like, yeah, here, like, you clearly have some standards and expectations. You should emphasize that you have a high standard of your physical fitness appearance. Being strong, looking good is important to you. And part of what you need to consider as yourself as a happy person is that if you don't feel you're fit and strong, nothing else that anyone says will matter. Your wife should be receptive to this very clearly, given the whole fat pig situation you had a few weeks ago. I don't know the details in that one. I couldn't find it. I have a feeling she had some meltdown because she gained some weight, and he probably gave her a comfort test about it and passed it as far as he thought, but she didn't believe any of the shit. That's typical. That's why a lot of guys hate those questions like, do these make me look fat? Because there's no right answer, because she knows she's fat and she wants to feel like she's not fat, and there's nothing you can say to convince people that the moon is made out of cheese. So here you are. Anyways, like, yeah, instead of just trying to make her feel better, make it clear it's a condition of your life. Like, yeah, you could lose a few pounds. Be honest. So when you heard your wife's request, by the way, for that help with the 5K run, you heard it as, I need help accomplishing this goal that I think will make me happy. Can you help me? And you're more than happy to help, because figuring out what will make her happy and then going out and doing it is basically your approach on life now. It's a great approach on life, so why shouldn't you want to help share it with her? But this is the inverse of your new dread game. If there's another I look like a fat pig moment in the future, make it clear how deeply unattractive you find that. Not because she is or isn't an actual fat pig, but because she sees a problem that's making her unhappy, and rather than doing anything about it, she's decided to hold a pity party. And I'll bring up I guess it's one of the other quotes he had where he's like, yeah, I might be playing with fire here by using dread, but now she knows my intent. She knows that I want to leave. She knows I'm saving money to prep for a divorce. It allows her to manipulate that in a very specific and predictable way. She could simply withhold sex, and I could write it off as needing to be better. Oh, I should preface, that was the one thing that was in a former field report, which one of the other commenters quoted on it. But so she found his red pill stuff. And finding his red pill stuff, you see the idea that you got to make yourself more fuckable. Don't just try to fuck your wife. And then he was worried that once she knew that, then she's like, okay, if I need him to do something, I just withhold sex. He'll interpret it as he needs to be better, and I'll get some more shit done for me. And he's like, you know what? Don't worry about that. Jack's like, this is all the more reason to stress your expectations that she's responsible for managing her own happiness. In fact, I think she's openly admitting herself that you could be Ryan Gosling, and she still wouldn't jump on you when you walked in the house. In fact, the closer you move towards looking like Ryan Gosling, the more insecure she feels. And then you'll get dread, Gina tingles from her, but those won't get you jumped when you walk in the door. It just gets her thinking that, when was the last time we had sex? Has it been too long for your liking? And how long are you going to divorce me if you don't put in for that night? And that's where he's getting that starfish sex, because it's dread without the requisite increase in sexual attraction. It's not quite hysteric bonding, but it's going along that pathway. It's essentially a stress alleviation. If you want to see more on this stuff, by the way, Dr. David Buss and Cindy Minson talk about it in When Women Have Sex. I often jokingly tell you guys here that it's a book that lays out the 800 reasons that women have sex, and genuine desire is like 752nd on the list. Guys, it's because we're horny. For girls, there's a litany of reasons for it, from revenge to fear to anxiety to mate retention to just stop it, because even so far as a girl's like, I just don't want to hear him bitch about it anymore, you know? And he's like, I think this is why you spoke overtly to your wife about the divorce and stuff. The way things were headed, you were going to have as much sex as you wanted, because your wife would be filled with such a constant level of radioactive dread that she's willing to turn her vagina into a penis receptacle on demand. You've never had to negotiate desire, but that desire would never manifest in the way you wanted. Like I said, it's not a lot of prescriptive red pill stuff for that situation. He brings up one good point that the guy, he had some piece of advice here. It's like, well, once she's successful in improving her time in the 5K run, she'll feel more empowered. When she sees improvements in her appearance, she'll feel more empowered. The empowerment will lead to confidence, sexiness, and ultimately sex with me as a self-assured woman. Absolute covert contract. And Jack even's like, yeah, until her SMV exceeds yours and she divorce rapes you, you stupid pussy. Again, the whole part of this too. I guess there's another part, I haven't really talked about it, but it's really useful. So do you see, as you read it, as you listen to it, he's reactive. She's miserable, so I'm going to try something. It didn't work. And then he pulls himself just distantly away and he checks himself out. But then she throws a bone. Hey, I want to get better at the 5K. So he jumps all on that and he tries to fix her with the expectation that she'll give him sex. But then, it's starfish sex because she can tell he's anxious about it. You can tell it's like costing the relationship. She's doing it basically to keep the peace. But that just makes things worse, and then he pulls away again. This leads to nowhere but divorce, and that's because he still thinks that I can fix her. He thinks if I just do the right thing, then she'll feel better, and then she'll fuck me on the regular, and then I'll have a problem-free life. And it just doesn't work out that way. The fact that he's too attached to outcomes from her means everything he does has a covert contract to it, and it's just building this cycle of resentment. And I know I'm not going to guarantee things would get better if he detached his need to fix her from this, but at the end of it, he definitely won't be sitting here complaining how nothing ever works, being despondent, thinking about divorce until she throws just a glimmer of hope that there's something in it for him. He would move forward in his plan. Now, would he stay together? Would he get divorced? Ask 10 guys, you're going to get 5 different answers as to which one it is. The point is, whichever way it does happen, he'll be fine. And that's the key. It's like I said before, you're not trying to get your wife to fuck you. You're trying to be more fuckable and then deciding who gets to stay in your life based on the value they provide. It's that simple. And you have no expectations that anybody needs to or should do anything. So take that for what it's worth. Enjoy yourself. Have fun. I guess I'll catch you later. Cheers.